Can Truvaga really help with stress, anxiety, and sleep, or is it just another overpriced gadget that'll take up space in your junk drawer? After using Truvaga twice per day, every day for the past month, I'll be showing you whether or not Truvaga is legit, how to use Truvaga safely, since a lot of people actually make some mistakes using this device that could do more harm than good, and who should or shouldn't spend their money on Truvaga, plus some alternatives if you're on a budget. But first, let's check this thing out. The simplest way I could describe Truvaga, it's kind of like a really gentle taser. But the device itself is really simple. You turn it on, connect to the app, choose an intensity setting, spray some conductive spray on your neck, and hold Truvaga in place for 2 minutes while it sends gentle electrical impulses through your neck to the vagus nerve. That's it. Super simple. And supposedly, this vagus nerve stimulation can help with stress, anxiety, sleep, and all kinds of other issues, especially issues involving the nervous system. But if you're anything like me, this probably sounds a little too good to be true. So I wanted to know, does Truvaga actually work? So I did some digging into the science, and here's what I found. So the vagus nerve is the largest parasympathetic nerve in our body. This means it's extremely important for rest and digest functions like sleep, stress management, or calming down quickly after something like an anxiety attack. And it's thought that by gently stimulating this nerve regularly, we can sort of keep it toned and help it work better. But even though vagus nerve stimulation, or VNS, is just becoming popular today, it's actually been around since 1997 as an FDA-approved method for treating issues like epilepsy and depression. The difference is, back then, vagus nerve stimulators needed to be surgically implanted to work. Almost like a pacemaker, but for the nervous system rather than for the heart. 30 years later, thanks to technological advances and capitalism, now we've got non-invasive vagus nerve stimulators like Truvaga, which can stimulate the vagus nerve through the skin. Now, is this as effective as having a medical-grade VNS device surgically implanted in your body? Probably not, but I mean, I still know which one I'd try first. I'm always a big supporter of starting with the most conservative treatment methods possible. I hate seeing people get hooked on harmful, addictive medications that eventually stop working, so if there's even the slightest chance that something like vagus nerve stimulation could work for you, I say give it a try. Since anyone can now practice vagus nerve stimulation at home on their own, a ton of online communities have sprung up where people swear by VNS, saying that it's changed their lives and helped with all kinds of issues. Truvaga does tend to be a pretty well-known and popular option in these groups, but many others use super cheap, do-it-yourself, homemade VNS devices, so if you're on a tight budget, I can tell you more about those later in the video. But just because VNS is legit doesn't necessarily mean Truvaga is legit. So for the past month, I use this device twice per day, morning and night, for 2 minutes at a time as per the instructions. And while I definitely don't think Truvaga is perfect, which I'll touch on in just a bit, I've got to say my initial experience with this device was pretty positive. So it is a very simple device to set up and use. Honestly, the part that took me the longest was just creating an account on the app. But after that, you pretty much just need to spray your neck, open the app, and hit start. The electrical sensation is a little weird at first. At lower intensities, like 1 to 4, it barely feels like Truvaga is doing anything at all for me. But at higher intensities, above like 8 for me, it can be kind of uncomfortable and cause some muscle spasms. What's typically recommended by people in the VNS community is that you want the device to be positioned just about where you would check for your pulse, and you want the intensity to be just enough to give you that slight lip pull without causing significant discomfort. But when in doubt, like with anything, start low and go slow. Build up a comfort and tolerance when you're first starting to use Truvaga. Now let's fast forward 1 month later. Here's how Truvaga worked for me. While vagus nerve stimulators like Truvaga make some big claims about helping people with anxiety, burnout, sleep, chronic pain, and more, those things can be pretty hard to quantify. Most people say that they see an increase in their HRV, or heart rate variability, from using Truvaga, which is a good thing. But if I'm being honest, my HRV is already pretty high, so I didn't really see too much of an impact there. But weirdly enough, the biggest difference I always notice from using vagus nerve stimulators like Truvaga is with my sleep. Now, I don't have any particular issues sleeping, but if I'm being honest, most of the time it's hard for me to get my ass out of bed in the morning. As counterintuitive as it may seem, zapping myself with Truvaga before bed actually does help me to wake up feeling rested and not needing to hit snooze. I know, it's weird, but if I'm being honest, that's where I've noticed the most personal benefit from VNS. So overall, I do think that both vagus nerve stimulation and Truvaga are legit, but there are still some major pros and cons to consider before you buy. For the pros, first, I've got to say, this is one of the easiest tVNS devices I've ever used. It genuinely only takes a few seconds to turn it on and get a session started versus some competitor products I've tried that take a lot longer to set up and wind up feeling like too much of a hassle to use consistently. Second, I really think Truvaga could work for a lot of people if they set the right expectations. What I mean by that is it's not a magic bullet, okay? It can't replace years of therapy or make up for a horrendous diet and lack of sunlight, but I do think it could help a lot of people, and I definitely think it's worth trying before just accepting that you're going to be hooked on a bunch of prescription meds for the rest of your life. And for the cons, first, you will need to periodically purchase more electrode spray in order for the device to work properly. However, it's worth mentioning that this isn't unique to Truvaga. Any VNS device or electrical stimulator you use is going to require some kind of electrode spray like this, and you can find it on Amazon for just a few bucks or even make your own pretty easily, so it's not too big a deal. I'll even drop a link down below where you can find that spray real cheap. And second, if I'm being honest, I really dislike one of the products from this company, the Truvaga 350. I believe this was their original model and it's a bit cheaper, but it's designed to work on 350 sessions before needing to be replaced. And that feels a little bit too subscription-y to me. I don't like that at all, so I won't be recommending that particular model to anyone. However, I chose to pay a little bit more upfront for their Truvaga Plus model, which has unlimited uses, and while it's more expensive, it's the version I'm more comfortable recommending. But speaking of price, I will throw a discount link down below, which I'll keep updated with the best current deal to save you some money, and I genuinely appreciate anyone who uses it as it helps a lot to support the channel. So, all things considered, who should and shouldn't buy Truvaga? Well, if you're dealing with any of the issues we talked about today, sleep, anxiety, stress, etc., I think vagus nerve stimulation is an interesting solution that's worth exploring, and I think Truvaga is a legit way to do so from home, especially if it can prevent you from self-medicating with alcohol or even potentially harmful and addictive prescription medications. But again, you always have to go into things like this with a degree of accountability and patience. If you set your expectations too high and expect this device to just fix a lifetime of bad choices without putting in any other work, you're probably going to be disappointed. Also, if you've got a pacemaker or you're pregnant, Truvaga and VNS as a whole are not going to be safe for you. I'm sorry. And if Truvaga is out of your budget range, because believe me, I know it's not cheap even with my discount link, I've got a few other options for you. The first option is the do-it-yourself option, and it's the cheapest way to do VNS at home, and that's to use a slightly modified TENS unit. There are a lot of resources online that will show you how to do this. I'm personally not going to be the one to show you this, partially because I haven't done it. I don't want to risk doing it wrong and hurting myself, and partially because it looks kind of inconvenient to me. But if you are truly on a budget and want to try VNS, there are plenty of great YouTube videos online that can show you how to do this. The second option is a competitor of Truvaga, and it's actually about half the price, but it's a really fantastic little device. And I've actually got a whole video up just about that device, which you can check out right here. Check that video out and tell me what you think.